Honorable Mr. Justice Fasayed, respected Executive Dean, dear colleagues and beloved students, a very good evening. On behalf of OP Jindal Global University, it is my proud privilege to welcome all of you to the inauguration ceremony of Judicial Services Examination Lecture Series 2021. My name is Pratibha Tandon. I am a lecturer and an Assistant Dean Career Services at Jindal Global Law School, OP Jindal Global University, and I'm honored to be hosting this inauguration ceremony. Through this initiative, we aspire to encourage our students to consider judiciary as a prospective career choice. To begin with the inauguration ceremony, I humbly request Professor Dr. Srijit S.G., Executive Dean at Jindal Global Law School, OP Jindal Global University, to flag off the event with the welcome address. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the inauguration ceremony of Jindal Global Law School Judicial Education Lecture Series 2021. For inaugurating this lecture series, we have as the chief guest of the day, Honorable Justice Arijit Pasayat, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. Before I formally invite Justice Pasayat to inaugurate the ceremony and also to deliver his address, I feel it appropriate to say a few words in appreciation for my younger colleagues, Ms. Tripti Panigrahi, Ms. Pratibha Tandon, Ms. Shambhavi Shivani, Ms. Ashwati Nair, and Mr. Mukesh Arora, all Assistant Deans Career Services at Jindal Global Law School, who took the initiative by conceiving the idea of and introducing this lecture series, considering the interest among the students of Jindal Global Law School to pursue a career in judicial services. I also acknowledge the outstanding support provided by Professor Karan Latyan and Professor Manveen Singh, Associate Deans of Jindal Global Law School. The above said interest among the students of Jindal Global Law School is the result of the impressions they have developed as part of their legal education about judicial process and the role of judiciary in building and sustaining fair and just society. They are motivated by the learning that judicial process aids in the social self-becoming of society, that it instructs society in values of fairness, that it tests the self-consciousness of society by critiquing its thoughts and actions and by providing inputs for self-correction and self-perfecting. This distinctive role of judicial process is succinctly captured by Professor Philip Allott. I quote, "The court of law is theater, temple, battlefield. A court enacts social process as drama, sacrament, and contest. Day after day in the courtroom, the magic of human self-socializing is performed publicly for all to see, the universal made particular, the particular made universal. Day after day in the courtroom, the triunity of social self-constituting is incarnated in unity, the ideal made real in legal," unquote. In this perspective, the judge becomes the epitome of truth, of values, of social correctness, again, a quality she gains through legal education. Hence, the judge is an image of correctness, the truth, and hence, judgment is her own corrective order in the self-image of truth. Tagore echoes this sentiment so persuasively in the poem, The Judge. "When I must punish, him becomes all the more part of my becoming. When I cause his tears to come, my heart weeps with him. I alone have the right to blame and punish, for he only may chastise who loves." It is this educating and value-imparting role of judiciary and the image of the judge discovered in the notions of truth, which have appealed to the conscience of our students, than the power and authority most often associated with judiciary. I'm certain that this lecture series will uphold the spirit of the said ambition by not letting it fall to sheer career ambition. I'm certain that there is no one better than Justice Pasayat to provide students the first note of the melody of justice delivery, the first maxim of judicial process, and the finest art of judicial performance. I take this great moment with great honor to formally invite Justice Pasayat to inaugurate this lecture series and to deliver the chief guest's address. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Professor Srijit, for the insightful comments and motivating thoughts. I would now request the chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Arijit Pasayat, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, to deliver the inauguration address. Honorable Justice Pasayat began his judicial career as an additional judge in the High Court of Odisha. He then went on to become the Chief Justice of the High Court of Kerala in 1999. In 2000, he was appointed as the Chief Justice of the High Court of Delhi. In the following year, he was appointed as the judge in the Supreme Court of India. Here, he delivered many significant judgments in cases like Ashok Kumar Thakur versus Union of India concerning the findings of the Mandal Commission. He has also served as the chairman of the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, the executive chairman of the National Legal Services Authority, and the vice chairman of the Special Investigation Committee on Black Money. From streamlining the functioning of Lok Adalats to giving a directive on banning ragging in colleges, from ordering for compulsory registration for marriages to maintaining that political parties should not use colleges and universities for political purposes, he has reflected through his rulings his faith in the system. I request your Lordship to deliver the inauguration address.
Good afternoon. I was really thrilled when I was asked to speak on a subject which is, as usual, a novel idea of a team of academicians at the Jindal Law School. When I read that you have a committee to look after the career advancement of students, I was reminded of what an ex-Chief Justice of India had told me. He had said in the background of legal education that, look, we are in this elitist schools producing money-making lawyers, forgetting that they have other avenues to avail, like teaching law or becoming good judicial officers. You see, therefore, your idea of motivating students to pursue a particular avenue is really audible. And I must congratulate all of you who are involved in this process, thinking of such a noble idea. Not only being concerned about the welfare of the students, but in helping them to choose a career. Because they are at the crossroad of several roads, one leading to litigation, other leading to corporate, third leading to teaching in law, and the last judicial officer's career. Now, when we consider this, why has this situation arisen? Because if you look back, about not long back, the standard of legal education was so low that committee after committee were constituted to examine the malady of the falling standards of legal education. And in one very scathing report, it was said that the mushroom growth of law colleges has led into the growth of half-baked lawyers and who are let loose on the society are parasites and drones. Well, the situation has considerably changed, and now people are taking legal profession very seriously. Right away, I can tell you, some 5 decades back, when I joined the profession, there used to be a saying in my state, which was also commonly felt that way in different states in different languages, that one was nothing else to do, does for Okalati, Rajaniti and homeopathy. So therefore, now the situation has changed. Now Okalati has become a prime profession and much sought after profession, and that itself is reflected by the large number of very elite law schools coming up. And the pass out from these law colleges is quite considerable. And therefore, then comes the question, why is there so much of doubt about what to pursue? But I must first congratulate all the professors of law of different law universities who have chosen to take law teaching as a profession. It's not really a profession, it's a bona fide attempt at doing something for the society by teaching students law in a manner as it should be done. For this purpose, I can tell you that two things come to my mind. Why is law so important, or learning of law so important? The first thing that comes to my mind is a very famous saying that a country is known by the judiciary it has. So the judiciary is not only the Supreme Court or the High Court, it's also down below, starting from the civil judge, junior division, magistrate, going up civil judge, senior division, district judge, High Court judge, Supreme Court, that ladder goes up. And the second is a very prolific statement by Martin Luther King Jr., who had said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And he added, and it was a letter he had written from the Birmingham jail. He had said that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Then what is this injustice that he was talking about? In that sense, injustice to an individual, in what way? And for that, what is necessary to be done is to see that no injustice is done to anybody. And for that, there has to be the majesty of law recognized, the justice delivery system, and the preservance of the rule of law. And for that, each one of us has a role to play. As members of a disciplined society, as students of law, as teachers of law, as lawyers, as judicial. And then comes, why should there be a distinction between a lawyer and a judicial officer? When you say that bar and the bench are two sides of the same coin, but in a lighter way, I don't know whether most of you have seen that famous film Soleil, where there was a coin which contained a head on both sides. So that head probably is now taken to be the legal profession, and therefore both sides head is both sides legal profession. But that distance between the bar and the bench, theoretically saying, is about 4 yards maximum, because the judge sits at a distance of about 4 yards from the lawyer. But then what is the need for a judicial officer? You see, in a country like ours, and the justice delivery system, like the lawyers, well, there is no harm in earning money. But at the same time, one must remember that if you are only good lawyers and you don't have good judges, then justice delivery system will be affected with you suffer. Because an incompetent lawyer is as dangerous as an incompetent judicial officer. Because ultimately the fate of a person, be it his life, liberty, his property, depends on the wisdom and the sense of judgment, sense of doing justice of that judicial officer. And in a country like ours, I can tell you, for 99.9%, it can be more also maybe. For a man in the rural areas, a man who cannot afford to come to higher courts, the lowest rung in the judicial system, the municipal magistrate, the junior division civil judge, is the Supreme Court. Then that actually adds to the duty of the judicial officer to do complete justice, in a sense that he should not be sacrosanct saying, oh, there is a forum of appeal, you can go to the district judge, you can go to the High Court, go to the Supreme Court. No. How many of these people can afford to go to the Supreme Court? For these people living in the rural areas of this country, and the vast majority of our country live in the rural areas, and for them to afford litigation is not a luxury. It has become a bare necessity, and people avoid going to courts unless it's so important that they feel that they cannot do without going to a court. So that is the importance of a judicial officer. And the judicial officers now, luckily, are paid well right from the stage of their entry to the judicial service. The emoluments they get are quite attractive. It was not so, but the Supreme Court saw to it that they get a decent salary because as Chanakya had said, that you must pay your judicial officers. Chanakya, that man, wise man who had said, you must pay your judicial officers well so that they don't feel the inclination to become corrupt to make their needs. Well, that's the sanctity one attaches to the duties of a judicial officer. The work he has to do for the society, and in what way. If we want an orderly society, there has to be a good brand of judicial officers who can deliver the goods. And therefore, as we have rightly chosen this topic, there is a need for motivating the cream of the lawyers, cream of the law students who want to enter into the field of law. It's not only becoming good lawyers, it's also important to become good judicial officers. And therefore, and the Supreme Court rightly said that when you were a fresh entrant, previously there was a time gap before which you could not apply to become a judicial officer. Supreme Court said, no, there is no need. You are fresh. The law is fresh in your mind. You are equipped to do it. So why waste 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? You can directly go and apply to become judicial officer. And I can tell you, it's a great satisfying thing that most of the judicial officers across the country I have seen, the recruits are from the law colleges, good law colleges, not law colleges where people just go there for hobby. Nothing else to do, so why not do a law college? And these 5 years law courses have actually made a difference because people who are joining, students who are joining the 5 years law course, they know they have the intention to make law as their career. And that is so important. So if once you choose to make law as your career, then it's not necessary that you must be a good lawyer. Become a good judicial officer. You will serve the society equally, effectively, efficiently by becoming a good judicial officer. And that way, I feel that your idea of motivating students to choose take this judicial officer's examination is certainly a very laudable idea. Yeah, anything else?
Thank you, Your Lordship, for the illuminating and thought-provoking comments. I'm sure your invaluable guidance will inspire our students a long way. We are grateful to you for kindly agreeing to grace this occasion. We look forward to hosting you again, hopefully at a beautiful campus. Thank you. Now, I would request my colleague, Ms. Trupti Panigrahi, Assistant Lecturer and Assistant Dean Career Services at Jindal Global Law School, OP Jindal Global University, to share the relevant details about the lecture series and deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Trupti.
Thank you, Pratibha. Honorable Mr. Justice Pasayat, respected professors and colleagues, and dear students. It is an honor to be here and introduce the Judicial Services Examination Lecture Series 2021. This lecture series is an endeavor taken by JGLS under the able guidance of our Vice Chancellor and the Executive Dean JGLS. This series is being launched as a pilot program with a vision to motivate and encourage our students to consider judicial services as a prospective choice of career. The success of this lecture series will ensure that more initiatives such as this are planned and executed. This lecture series is going to feature weekend lecture series of 1 to 1.5 hours duration on subjects common to all state judicial services examinations. The lecture series will be delivered by renowned academicians and practitioners who will provide a deeper insight with respect to the appropriate approach for preparing these subjects from the judicial services examination perspective. We have chosen 10 important subjects that are common to almost all state judiciary examinations and have divided the series into three phases. The first phase of the series will focus on Constitution of India and procedural codes. In the second phase, subjects like Penal Code, Evidence Act, Contracts Act, and the laws of succession will be discussed. In the third phase, which is also the final phase, we will have discussions on Limitation Act, property law, English, and general knowledge. The first lecture is scheduled tomorrow at 12 noon. This lecture will be delivered by Honorable Mr. Justice Bhavar Singh, former Judge Allahabad High Court, on the Constitution of India 1950, a judicial perspective. Honorable Mr. Justice Singh appeared for judiciary examinations himself and will give an insight into the approach an aspirant should have towards the subject. His Lordship will also discuss about the various perks made available to judges and judicial officers. It is indeed going to be an exciting lecture and we look forward to your active participation. We will be sharing the details of the first lecture through email soon after this ceremony. Before we conclude the inaugural ceremony, I would like to take this opportunity to present the vote of thanks. It is my honor to express a heartfelt gratitude on behalf of JGLS to our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Pasayat, for his inspiring address today in today's ceremony. To our Executive Dean, Professor Dr. Srijit, for his vision and unrelenting support for this lecture series. Professor, we admire your passion to provide the best of opportunities to JGLS students. To our JGLS program directors, Professor Karan Latayan and Professor Dr. Manveen Singh, for their kind guidance throughout planning and preparation of this lecture series. To our guest speakers for the lecture series who have kindly agreed to spend their valuable time to gratify our students. To my colleagues, Ms. Pratibha Tandon, Ms. Shambhavi Shivani, Ms. Ashwati Nair Suresh, and Professor Mukesh Arora, Assistant Deans Career Services, whose sheer dedication and commitment has resulted in flagging off this initiative. To the graphic design team and IT team for their continuous logistical support. And last but not the least, to Ms. Nimisha Thomas, Lecturer and Assistant Dean, Office of Academic Affairs, JGLS, who proposed the raw idea which led to this initiative. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.